Hi, hope you have a great day today because I wanted to show you what things that I got after I joined XL Future Leaders. And I cannot believe that it's been a year already. So, this is my first year progress as an XLFL awardee. If we talk about progress, then we should take a look at my state before I joined XL Future Leaders. Being one of 150 students accepted, it felt very surreal to me, honestly, because I worried that I couldn't keep up with the learning process and method given by XL leaders to me. Before, I used to be a passive person in my environment, never talk unless I was asked to talk. Even when I talked, I was really nervous getting to talk in front of hundreds of people. It makes me anxious and ended up ruining my chance to talk. Then I struggled to state my opinion on a forum and decided to follow everything the forum decide without giving a thought. Also, I tend to get insecure if my opinion were not accepted after I talk on a forum. I also realized every time that I were assigned as a decision maker in my group, I never put too much thought or thinking into it, and the result, I often make bad decisions and affecting people around me. The very first time that I get to see what XL Future Leaders look like were in national conference, where I experienced Lead Indonesia, and it was pretty disappointing for me because I didn't give my best or doing something that were advantageous for the team. I don't know what exactly that I have to do at that time to help my teammates, and I ended up being quiet most of the time. Like, as I got back home, I realized it's a time for me to look back and reflect on what should I fix or improve. And that made me realize that I have to do something or make a goal on the next year, which is 2020. New Year comes and I decided to make a few or maybe some small resolution on how I'm going to spend the rest of the year in 2020. Based on the things that I learned about SMART goals, correct me if my goals are not that specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, and I have divided into 4 quarters in 2020 on how my goal is. Anyway, for the first quarter of 2020, I wanted to participate in at least one of the national competition and hopefully get into the top 5 position. Then on the second quarter, I was chosen as the project committee of a community service program held by the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Laboratory, and being a laboratory assistant myself, I also wanted to be the speaker on a external class at least once held by the laboratory on daily basis. Then on the third quarter of 2020, we were assigned with Team Bisakos just show that Iris can go on smoothly. And also, as a final year university student, I was having this student study service for my final year project that hopefully can go on smoothly as well. And last, on the fourth quarter of this year, I wanted to deliver a great TED Talk based on my experience on the student study service for the XLFL workshop. Hopefully, this year I can finish my thesis proposal before the year ends. So that's all my goals for this year, which I updated monthly or per quarterly according to my needs and wants. On early February, my team were pitching our business model on a national competition held by University of Darussalam Banten, which were prepared by us since the end of December 2019, about Sharia e-commerce, focusing on the growth of small medium enterprises in Malang. From that moment on, I practiced to think in different perspectives, like in the business point of view and the consumer point of view, and so on. It felt like the bonus six thinking hat, which I learned and get to know deeper in workshop too. And thankfully, our team won the fifth place or second runner up. Then my first workshop as XLFL leader began. At first, if you notice, I was really awkward back then, trying to fit in into this bunch of amazing people with a lot of achievement made me a little insecure. Yeah, one of my bad traits. It felt hard at first learning all those core values and those learning process that unconsciously I practice every time after the workshop. And after the first workshop, I felt more mentally prepared to be in a group discussion with all those tools given to us like Scamper, Smart, Inquiry Learning, Up, the bonus six thinking hat, and so on, which gives me a lot of possibilities and mindfulness on terms of decision making. Continuing the first quarter of the year, as I become one of the laboratory assistant in Entrepreneurship and Innovation Laboratory of Faculty of Administrative Science, Brawijaya University, I learned a lot about pitching and business tools to start a business, and surprisingly, me and a fellow assistant were chosen to be speaker about design class on how to ace your curriculum vitae. During my time there, I also learned a lot on how to use design thinking to define problem and create innovative solution, which align with what XLFL core value in entrepreneurship and innovation is. From February to March 2020, I was assigned as the project committee of Creativepreneur Local Youth Innovation, or CRAYON for short. It was a community service made by the laboratory to help the local youth communities to start their own business. And this time, I learned a lot about how to dig deeper a problem of the community. At first, me and my partner were posing questions on how we could help the community with what we have and what they have, their potential. Then we started making different scenarios and options on how this even going to be. Later, I realized it was part of the inquiry learning process I got on workshop 2. But sadly, after the COVID-19 pandemic hit Malang, the community service was cancelled and to be held next year by my junior in laboratory. Then there is this thing called Pecah Kucha, a 20-slide presentation for 20 seconds each. I heard about this kind of presentation before, but I never thought that we got to practice it in XLFL. I mean, the pressure was really high. But thankfully, I got partnered with Fafa, presenting about business figure, and we talk about Arif Muhammad this time. I can never imagine that our Pecah Kucha show would be nominated as one of the best show at the time. I mean, I guess our practice really gives result to our show. Since I'm currently on my 4th year of university, it was time for me to do internship or student study service, which I chose as my final year project. I was assigned in the Bawean Island, part of Gresik Regency in East Java Province. The overall experience was amazing, even though at first it was different from my expectation. A little bit below, I think, but I felt very thankful to learn about effective communication and managing change in XLFL beforehand. The real world was that different from university. I learned to communicate to the local, even I got to know them in a mutual relationship as I tried to solve their problem with theories that I got in class. It's a bit of a challenge to deliver what I got, to be on the same level as their understanding. But it's a bit of a challenge, but worthy for me. And the way that I tried to adjust to their culture and the norm over there was the best practice of managing change for me so far. That experience was a waste if I kept it for myself. So, for my TED Talk assignment, I decided to make an impactful message by telling my stories during my stay in Balian Island for my study service, like how I survived without taking a picture and video and not uploading it on my social media whatsoever. The purpose of that TED Talk was to encourage the tourists to appreciate and interact more with the local, knowing how hard they prepare the experience for us, the tourists. But thankfully, as I never expected before, I got the most surprising show on that event. Honestly, I felt inferior compared to the others as I saw that their TED Talks were more meaningful and amazing than mine. And I wish I could improve myself like them, but I'm thankful that I could convey my message to the listeners. And thank you for staying all throughout this presentation. And lastly, before this year end, I wanted to finish my thesis proposal about crisis management and recovery strategy of a destination post-pandemic in 2020. Wish me luck. That's it about my first year progress as XL Future Leader awardee. This is Arsilia. Thank you for your attention.